truth.
Like, share, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend. Hit that like button right now if you can. That helps the channel the most. We got the legendary medium man in the building.
Brother.
How are you?
Oh man, I'm doing well, man. Every time we talk, hey, it's always lighthearted, funny.
Yeah, we're supposed
to be serious, right?
Indeed. You know, black men ain't supposed to laugh that much.
Yeah, we can't laugh. You know what I'm saying? You don't smile, brother.
Indeed, man. DJ Hampton Stampede, we are in the building.
DJ Ham the Stampede.
How are you, good brother? How was your day and all that?
Man, everything was good. You know what I'm saying? Work was easy. Got home to relax a little bit. You know, went to the gym, of course. You know, trying to cool down and get ready for the show, man. I'm excited, man. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on. And again, first of all, let me just say shout out to you, brother, man. Like I told you in the back chat when we was talking, what you're doing is amazing, you know, especially, you know, with the wife and 6 kids.
Yeah, man.
You putting in a lot of work. So salute to you and blessings to you and your beautiful family, man.
Thank you, sir. I humbly appreciate it, man. It's a long road, but it's a good one. You know what I mean?
It is, man. I definitely understand.
Indeed. It's never a dull moment, man. But, you know, I just, you know, appreciate you blessing the channel because there were so many brothers. When I started doing the interviews, I started maybe a couple months ago, right? So I think I had some names that I certainly respect, some names that were certainly provocative. But, you know, there was a just a sentiment. Hey, see if you can get medium man. See if you can get, you know, and then, you know, Mr. Fantastic Marcus, just to name a couple that said it just recently. I'm like, well, okay, I'm gonna try my best, man. So there's so much respect for you just in terms of information, knowledge, and delivery. You know what I mean? So I wanted to give you your flowers while you're still here, you know?
Oh, man, I appreciate it. Definitely appreciate it. And shout out to those brothers for recommending me. You know, I try and keep my little circle small. You know, I have my own vetting process when it comes to my channel. Sure. So for those brothers to, you know, come across the content and actually, you know, refer me to you, you know, I mean, that's amazing, man. So I greatly appreciate them. And thank you for reaching out, man. I greatly appreciate it.
Indeed, 100%. Medium, give me just a second. I want to see who's in the chat real quick. You know, I think that you have an additional level of accountability for, you know, your chat, your channel. I just like to see who's late. I'll definitely take role in attendance. Here comes Snuggles, of course. As soon as the show starts, drop the link. Line no salute. He said he's locked in. Big Bad Bull, what's going on? Indeed. E-Dub in the building. Impress. I see you putting in work. She said, hey, Hamp, Media Man, TMBR crew. Indeed. Let me see who else we got. Keeps it 100 at all time. Thank you for the commentary after all the videos drop as well. Mel, you already know we're here. Let me see. Q-Dub in the building. I like it. Josh. Yep, Josh is in Korea, so it's definitely morning for him.
Wow.
Almanai, salute. Sexy Red in the building. We see you. Travel One. Did I see you this afternoon? I think so. Mona, hello. How are you?
That's my top moderator. Good to see Mona here.
She is? Well, hold on. Let me make sure she. 1 second. Boom. Mona now can moderate over here too.
Thank you.
Indeed. Joe, what's up? Truism, salute to you. Melly Mel, I see you. Homeboy in the building. I like it. Naf says, say word him. I just started watching Media Man a few months ago. He a former Air Force vet like me. This about to be dope. Indeed. Mel said he got his popcorn ready. Okay. I see you. Hope all is well. Prime, I see you.
Hey, there we go.
Indeed. Sis, what's popping? Blue collar underdog. Mr. Williams, he says salute to us, salute to you. John Henry with the $2 says glad Hamp got you over. That's a fact. John Henry is also Air Force vet.
Yes.
Indeed, and one of the OGs, certainly. Dante was popping with the $5 says salute to DJ Hamp and brother Double M. I mean, I see you. NTAT, you're not late this time. See, I always call him out for being late, so it keep him accountable. You know what I mean? Quincy, Mr. Fantastic.
So real quick, if you don't mind, that is the guy that I was telling you about, man.
Yeah.
And he was fighting for his life, man. I was like, shout out to him. He was doing his best, man. I went back and watched the video. I was like, yeah, that was him. I was like, he was trying.
That's Mr. Fantastic, man.
Man.
Mr. Fantastic, I'm gonna send it to your Instagram in just a second. Zagu, what's popping? He said, let's go. CC, what's going on? John Henry with the 20 ball. John Henry says, Air Force, stand on it. Indeed. I appreciate the first 20 ball of the evening, so I have to play this clip. Didn't fit. Logical Faith, salute to you. He said with the 100 ball, he says, Media Man is one of the most important content creators of the Black community. Great to see you here, brother. Indeed. Now, Medium, there's when I get these particular types of super chats at this level, I play a little jingle. The key is everybody has to vibe to the jingle when they're on the panel. All right.
Man, you gonna try and make me dance in public, brother?
Indeed. We breaking all the black man codes. I'll play one of the shorter ones though.
Go ahead, you got it.
I don't like this drink that much, but the jingle is awesome.
And when I'm feeling broke, E and J by my side, Henny like $40. This shit like 25.
Hey, where you find that,
man? Dang, man.
I'm about to steal that, man.
Hey, I'll send it to you after this. It's still on the computer.
Doing good, man.
Man, oh man, Mr. B, what's going on? Mona said, please like shit. Damn, she already doing it.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. And then look at my he try to follow up. Man, this didn't take much effort, man. She got punctuation. Black America, salute. Man, oh man, Jerice in the building. Okay, I like it. Fear no mortals. Salute. Red Jet, we'll see you. Thank you for coming back this evening. PJ, what's up? He laughing at us. Man, oh man. T713 with the 100 ball. That's one of the supporters.
Yeah, he be over there. Yeah, he's definitely a supporter.
Showing love. He said, salute the Hamp and Medium Man. Indeed. Man, we're going to do a lot of dancing. I need to turn the air up over here.
What we got? Hold on.
All right, so we got, let me see. Hold on. This one give us a little break.
I knew that we become one right away. One right away. At first sight, I felt the energy of the rays. I saw the light inside your eyes.
He was singing his ass off, right?
He's singing, ain't he?
Salute. HQ was popping. She says, man talk, salute. Jalen, Ty, Matreon, we back. BATL, I didn't see you this afternoon. You know I'm sensitive. Matreon, salute. Q-Dub in the building, man. Gotta show love to the supporters, man. This is why we do it, man. Salute to Uncle Rick. He said heavy starch. Peace, DJ Hamp and Media Man. Indeed. Manaj, what's up? If I miss you, I apologize. We will make sure everybody's acknowledged by the end of the show. AC, CJ, salute. Man, I've been so excited for this, man. Like you said, the back chat builds, man, is everything, you know. It's like you don't know everybody, but they feel so familiar. You know what I mean? There's so many
Right.
commonalities that you can build on, you know?
Yep.
Oh,
I definitely agree.
awesome, man. And it's just cool how you like down the street from me. You know, it just
Yeah. I don't know if they know that. Yeah, I'm definitely in Houston too, and Amp is like right up the street. So
No, 100%, 100%.
Shit like that.
You know, it's perfect.
Perfect.
Man, make sure you guys get the likes. So let me check one time, media man. For some reason, it's like the light got a stain on it, like it got poison on it or something. For some reason, they just don't hit that button quite like they need to. You know, we have 93 likes and 170 people in the building. Not terrible, but
Put him in the fucking bedroom. Get him out of here. Come on.
get the likes up, get the likes up, get the likes up. All right, awesome, man. I got butterflies.
Put him in the fucking bedroom.
we already laughing because
Yo,
we shouldn't have started back.
I'm telling you, man. Oh man. So let me ask you just a couple of questions, right? Maybe not the numbers just yet. As you can see with the lead-in clip, I put a bunch of clips together. It was made mention of the condom, who's at most responsibility. The sentiment seemingly when we have these conversations is because the woman controls access, because she has the biggest repercussions if she were to get pregnant, having a baby, taking care of it, so on and so forth. She is most at fault if he doesn't put a condom on his penis. That I'm conflicted by, considering it's my penis. I also know the repercussions that come with it, but I'm still up in the air. What's your sentiment on it?
Man, and that's one of the most, I guess, polarizing conversations that we have in these space. Who's at fault the most? And as a man, it's up to you to make sure you protect yourself, because if you don't want to have a child, you know what comes with it. So if you don't protect yourself, who else gonna do it for you? She not gonna do it for you, because I'm pretty sure women are very intelligent, so they know what happens if a man ejaculates within them. They're possibly gonna have a kid. So they already know the repercussions that can come with it. But if you're the one that don't want kids, then you got to make sure that you wrap it up. Or you can stay tuned, and wait the 9 months out until the buckaroo come in here. Now you got to take care of it, because at that point, I think men need to understand that that's the only type of prevention that you have control of at that point. And of course, miracles happen. Somebody can get pregnant while, the condom didn't break. That happens multiple times, depending on the strength of the elasticity and all that stuff or whatever. But you got to do everything that you can to make sure that you protect yourself. And I go into detail in regards to how I used to, kind of run my dating life. I used to ask for my charts, what I'm saying, just to make sure that we good. You want kids, you have those uncomfortable conversations before you engage in any type of situation. But even then, if the woman gets pregnant, it's her decision. So at that point, you have to do everything you can to protect yourself, and that includes putting on a condom, right?
Indeed.
I mean, I don't see where you could disagree with that. So I don't. Yeah.
The logic seems to be sound your way. You know what I mean?
Would somebody disagree with that? Or?
Well, they're essentially saying because it seems like she bears the brunt of the repercussions, that she's ultimately responsible for him going inside of her with no condom.
No, that's two separate things.
Okay.
She does bear the brunt of the responsibility, but you separate the two, and then you start looking at the man, because she knows that she has a kid. Women do that all the time. Women have kids knowing that the guy doesn't want them. Does that happen? Yes. So we have to do our part just to make sure. But in these situations, man, I tend to hold men more accountable. And the reason why I do that is because I trust black men. I trust black men to do the right things based off the statistics. We're going to go into detail even more, but every time I have a conversation and I'm holding men accountable, it's not because I'm trying to make y'all look bad. It's because I trust you, because I know how good black men are. So it's not about me trying to place blame. I just know that you guys are smart enough to protect yourselves so you won't have an unwanted kid.
Mhm.
That's what it is. Not blaming anybody. So.
Shit like that.
See,
Shit
now
like that. Shit like
that
that.
I'm telling you, that right there, the framing of information matters so much. You know, that's why you have blessed YouTube, especially Black YouTube, because how you frame information makes it palatable. And I think that's a lost art on many people. You know, oftentimes we argue tone doesn't matter, you shouldn't care about the delivery, but we know in person men speak clearly and direct to each other, but respectfully, because we know that it can escalate, because tone and how you deliver information certainly matters, you know.
Yeah, especially
Man.
I mean, men, that's understood, and I know that's a kind of a punchline that we use in these spaces. Tone don't matter. It does, man. And for all my military vets, they'll understand. They know that tone matters. If you're trying to, learn how to shoot a weapon, they can't. Hey, I think you need to do it like this, because no, they're gonna get your ass and tell you, hey, yo, you need to have that bandolier ready because you're the assistant gunner on this damn machine gun. And if you're doing it wrong, it's life or death. So we know that tone matters. It just seems like in these spaces, when you do come with a harsher approach to women, they may not listen. But even then, you kind of roll in the dice. They may not listen, even if you come as soft as you want. And kind of Kendra G has proven that with her show. She tried to stay true, but then it got to the point where she had to take time to explain to women about accountability. So I mean, it really doesn't matter. It's kind of hit or miss. But if you want your message to get out more clearly, specifically to women, you got to make sure your tone is right. For the most part, even for the good ones, if that's what you want to call them. You know what I'm saying? So
100%. Like, share, subscribe, tell a friend, tell a friend. Hit that like button right now if you can. That helps the channel the most. I wanted them to understand just a part of your sentiment and your understanding. So, Media Man, what brought you to this space? What made you want to say, hey, I need to do this? It's needed. It's necessary. It looks fun. Like, how did you get here? What was your journey to now?
Jesus, man. And I was just thinking about this a while back, because I didn't think that it would be, conducive to my military career to try and get on YouTube, while I'm in and I'm serving and I'm going to these different places. So I waited, and the way I got brought into these conversations is because, for one, I didn't know that Black men and Black women were having so many issues when it came to relationships. My mind was focused on military, and anybody that knew me in the military, they will tell you that. But the way that I got brought in was from one of my good friends. She was a member of this relationship Black group or whatever on Facebook. Okay. And she was like, hey, man, you always giving us great advice, because I used to talk to the lady sometimes. Sure. And she was like, man, I think your perspective will be great in this, in this group. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I, pushed the ad, and they were having a conversation about, I think it was Black fatherhood, right? Okay. And I knew that everybody that was commenting, it was mostly women, Black women in there. They didn't know the statistics. So I dropped the statistics, and of course, I'm very respectful. Right. And I was like, hey, just to be clear, this is what the statistics look like in regards to how many Black men have children. And I left it alone, and I went to go do something for about an hour. I come back to Facebook. I had so many mentions, and I went under the post. It was cussing my ass out. Wow. And they cooked me. They called me. I learned what dusty meant. I learned, I learned a lot of different words that I did not know existed about Black men. Sure. And so I went back to my friend. I was like, hey, what kind of page you got me into? Like, look at what they saying. Like, what's wrong with these people? And she was trying to kind of play it off like, oh, no, they must be the wrong people in there. So I was like, man, I'm getting up out of here. So I left the chat, and I told her, I was like, maybe you could post the statistics and they'll, listen to you more. And she was kind of, shuffling her feet, because she didn't want to post those, statistics, because they would have came at her. So she knew. And that's when I got, interested in the space, because I decided to create my own Facebook page and just ask questions. It wasn't videos. It was just me asking questions about Black relationships, and people gave me a lot of feedback where it came back good. And then, the transition to YouTube came after I retired 2 years later. And it was, ironically, like I told you in the back, I've found Kevin Samuels from his style and, whatever, content. I didn't know that he was doing, you know, a show that he was talking to women. So one day I opened up YouTube and I seen that he was calling a woman average at best. And I was like, what happened to the style dude? And it was him, but he was just like in a different, you know, office or whatever. And I was like, what the hell? So I started listening, and I just felt that it was a space for a person who could, I guess, explain the differences between data and information, and also give you context to the kind of conversations that we have, because that's lacking in these spaces. You can't just spew out a statistic and expect people to digest it. You have to explain the why and interpret it and help them interpret and learn to educate themselves on how to read first before you go off of a clip. So that's kind of my story, man, and how I got into this space. So
100%. Like, share, subscribe, tell a friend, hit that like button right now if you can. That helps the channel the most. It's seemingly like she set you up.
man, when I tell you, man, it was the worst. I was like, what did I do? Like, I didn't I didn't understand at that point that there was still some, I guess, a gripe against black men and, you know, black fatherhood and things like that. So when I put it in there, I guess me going against the grain was kind of shocking to them. So, I mean, I get it now, but back then I was like, man, what the hell?
100%. No, I certainly understand it. You know, speaking of just the dynamic, right? This question may be provocative, but it is definitely a real question. Who is most to blame for the turmoil between us in relationships? The black man or the black woman?
Ooh, man. Controversial. You know, that's a controversial question. But when people ask me that question, I always tell them, like, it's not necessarily who's to blame, it's who needs the most help and who needs the most help first. Because everybody knows the statistics about the black community. We rank last in damn near all of them. But there's one particular group that's doing exponentially better than the other. Black men are doing exponentially better in certain categories, most categories, than black women. So at this point, black women need the most help. And I think if we approach it in that light, instead of saying, hey, you're to blame, I think most of our women would grasp it a little bit more. It's not necessarily trying to, you know, shame you. It's necessarily, I'm trying to tell you, like, hey, by 2030, you know, your net worth is going to be negative $200. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, this is not to point something out. It's like, hey, we need to help you guys learn how to save money and stop spending so much money on consumer debt, maybe take a trade instead of going to school, so on and so forth for that, you know, debt. So it's a lot, man. So I'm not trying to blame black women. We just need the most help. So.
Oh man. Okay. Has that delivery been more palatable from your experience so far?
It definitely has, but with the men, of course, you know, there's a certain decorum on my platform. They know how, you know, how I run it. But I get most of my conversations with women understanding this offline. Women damn near carry my Calendly consults, because it's sometimes they don't like to comment in these spaces, because if they do, then they're going to get attacked. And I've talked to my guys on my page about that. If a woman is coming in good faith and she just don't know, then educate her and let her know. Answer the question instead of telling her that, yo, you just like the others and all that. But they'll give me that feedback during the Calendly consults. They'll send me IMs, and they'll, you know, first of all, they'll ask, where'd you get that reference from? And I'll send it to them, and then we'll discuss it so they can understand it a little bit more. But on my page, we do have a small following of ladies. You know, most of them, they've been rocking with me for a while.
Sure.
And they interact, but for the most part, it's necessarily offline, I would say. So.
Okay, 100%. Understood. Good to know. Yeah, those one-to-ones can be super duper informative. You know, especially not in front of a crowd. You'll get a lot of candor, right?
Yep.
And transparency. So salute to that. Yep. Well, I've heard an argument, right? Because I think they would want more information in terms of they need more help. An argument of pushback that you may hear is that they need so much help because their sentiment is that they're tied to the worst group of men.
That's funny. No, it's not true. You're not, you know, tied to the worst group of men, because everything that black women know, learn, and think about black men up to this point was based off of a lie. And the reason why I say it was based off of a lie, because every statistic that I hear black women who have a disdain for black men quote is false. right? And so what I try and do on my channel is to help Black women understand, if you believe this statistic, and I'll use an example here in a second, but if you believe this, why does it take me to come on YouTube to present this to you when you could have did this for yourselves? Because I tell them they're not my statistics. I just interpret them for you guys, but this information was there for everybody. But and I give you a perfect example of this. It's the more Black men are in prison than in jail or in college. Have you heard this one before?
Yes.
So the first time I heard this statement was in 1990, I believe, and Ice Cube had a song. It was called "The Ninja You Love to Hate." I don't know if you remember that song.
Yes, I do.
Okay, he has a line in there where he said, you know, basically, it's more Black men in jail than more Black men in college. Fast forward to May 2024, just recently.
Yeah.
There's a page on Instagram and it's dedicated towards Black marriage, and it's ran by a Black woman. And she put out the false narrative that there's more Black men in prison than there is in college. So remember, I heard this in 1990, and I'm hearing it again in 2024. And that bothered me, so I had to put a video out explaining that's not true. And they already debunked this multiple times. But when our women hear something so much and they didn't receive any pushback, then they're going, I mean, you have to understand why they would think that Black men are the worst of the worst, because everything that you know about Black men is based off of a lie. So I take those statistics very seriously, because I think that it'll definitely help with the conversations in these spaces. So hopefully some Black women who thought bad about Black men could read them, be like, well, man, I thought that, you know, this was true and it's not. So they'll start learning, because everything that Black men are doing and succeeding in, it's not an excuse for Black women not to get married to Black men. You know what I'm saying? And that's what they try and say. Well, Black men aren't fit to be married. And I'm like, no, because everything you thought was a lie. But again, I understand it. I definitely understand why you would think that. Just think about it. If you were taught that your female counterparts was the worst of the worst, they didn't take care of their kids, you make more money than them, they don't get degrees, you'd be like, well, shit, what the hell are y'all doing? So that's why I'm kind of a little bit more, I guess, sympathetic, empathetic to when I hear Black women complain, because I just know that they're misinformed.
Okay.
Right? So yeah, so that's all it is.
Okay, 100%. What, when you say Black women need the most help, what metrics can we look at to kind of clarify that statement? Well,
so we'll talk about, let's start with the Black businesses thing, right?
Okay.
We've heard this before, you know, and most of the time I spend more time trying to give Black women support when these statistics come out, especially when it comes to businesses, because Black women at some point, I believe around COVID, they did open up the most, you know, businesses. But the mess up thing about it is the way that they word these, you know, these conversations in these articles. So Black women will see they, you know, started the most businesses, and they'll run back to the Black community and say, hey, we have more businesses than Black men, right? And that's not what the studies say. Where they need help at is getting the capital. So if Black women are starting the most businesses, they don't last past 5 years, which is when you literally start to earn money. But Black women have so many grants, so many, I guess, programs that are trying to give them capital, but those businesses have to be worth giving money to. And what hurts our women is that they tend to go on the same, you know, business aspects, you know, like retail, cosmetics, or, you know, certain things like beauty. And those are overran. So companies aren't too sure about giving stipends of money to that business alone. So I try and help them understand, like, hey, if you open a business doing this, and maybe they'll be more apt to give you a little bit more money, so you can get on the level of those other women instead of having those businesses, you know, fall belly up. You know what I'm saying? Got you.
Okay, they're not getting it because, you know, the argument would be simply, you know, essentially that, you know, racism is at play, right?
And there is. Studies show that too. It's a lot. And that's not just the Black women, it's the Black men. But the good thing about Black women is people actually care about y'all. You know what I'm saying? So all these companies, Goldman Sachs, whoever else is trying to give Black women money, they see a need and they're trying to help you guys. But the businesses have to expand to something different other than those areas that I mentioned. So
Okay, so essentially what happens is it's not that you're being denied, you're being denied because you're going to an oversaturated market,
right.
right?
And then black women, I think they know this. You know, I mean, if you
Okay.
look around, you know, same type of company. So
Okay. 100%, 100%. Like, share, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend. Hit that like button right now if you can. That helps the channel the most. So, what about the most enrolled / most educated for black women, right? Is that true? So, we heard it a lot under the KS era, I would say, right?
yeah,
They're not the most educated, they're the most enrolled.
right.
How do we exactly understand that sentiment?
Well, so at one point, black women were the most enrolled. You know, they were enrolling in college the most. However, that is changed. It is, I believe, I want to say Asian women, maybe Asian or white women now. But at that point, it was, and I think I was around 2009 when that was true. However, it has changed, but it's not the most educated. It was always the most enrolled, but there were some women on social media that ran with the narrative by saying that black women are the most educated. Now, I will say this. It's not a huge gap, but black women over the age of 25 or who earned a bachelor's degree, it's at 28%. A bachelor's degree or higher, 28%. But black men are right there in the middle with them at 22%. So there's not a huge gap. And I know it likes to be framed is like, yeah, all these, black women are going to college. No, it's only a 6% difference. And also with that, there are more black men that have STEM degrees, right? And when black men do go to college, they graduate at a higher rate because black women are the most enrolled. That does not mean that they finish the most. So if they did, black women would be the highest educated because they have the smallest group in per capita. If black women increase their completion rate to at least 60%, oh man, they would be killing it. And it's that simple. So it's not a slight. And I know people take it like, oh, you taking that away from us? No, I'm letting you know if y'all finish, you good.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. And a number that we often hear is like in terms of, right, when you look at welfare as an example, is it still true that white people are mostly on welfare? But it also makes sense because they're 60% of the population.
Yes. And people have to remember that we are severely outnumbered by white folks. So yes, when you look at welfare, it's going to be white women. It's always been white women for a while. But the narrative is that because black women have this stereotype about being on welfare and welfare babies, then people just run for it. And that's when I count on black women to stand up and say, hey, when you guys hear comedians making jokes about this, when you guys hear any women, any men running with these false narratives, y'all need to speak up and, protect your ethnic image. Because at some point, black men can't do it. We got to see y'all, involved in these conversations as well. Instead of getting mad, you need to get in the fight together. You know what I'm saying? Protect your ethnic image. So
100%. And I like that, right? Because we understand that stat when we talk about the welfare, right? And I just hope it helps clarify the reason why white black men are graduating at a higher rate is because there's more black women there, right? If they finish, boom, now the goals are met. Right? But the more you have, the more likely you're going to have more dropouts, right? It's just numbers.
And it's a lot of reasons that go into why black women drop out at a higher rate because of course they have the most college debt. But there's another statistic that was actually done by the women's I think it's called the Women's University Association, where they studied that 40% of black women who go to college actually have children, and that causes a heavy burden on them finishing school. And then also with like the budget, they go into the negative when they have children. So all these point out to, if we just remove this, then you guys will be exponentially better than what you see, and none of these talking points would be true. But as black men, it's tough for them to grasp it from us. So I need the women to put this information out there for themselves. So hey, we stop having all these kids in school, we would and we finish college, we would be great, we'd be doing well. So
okay, see, those factors matter, right? Because you can just, even with a kid, you could just, right, even the options you have for college dramatically change with a child, staying on the campus, going away, you know what I'm saying? Man, wow, that's awesome. right? And it's just information to understand why things are happening. And when you have all the information, you say, okay, that makes sense, right?
Yeah, and it's just interpretation, because I think in these spaces where we mess up is people they'll say a statistic, data, right?
Yeah.
Data is unorganized. You have to organize data, and that comes with information. So data and information are different, two different things. So if I just say that 40% of Black women have kids while in college, you would want to know why. So you give them the information to clarify. So that's why I spend so much time, and my videos are kind of long, because it takes a lot to explain / educate at the same time. And then you add the references and the links and the description, and you just hope that people will just read it. Don't take my word for it. Read it for yourself, and then
Grasp
you can come back with me and we could discuss it. So
100%. Get the likes up. I have pinned Medium Man's YouTube channel to the top of the chat. His Instagram link is also in the description. Please go like, share, and subscribe. Medium, on that, right, a spinoff directly from that. There's another question that we go back and forth and back about. When you mentioned the woman going to college with a kid, right? We have this argument. If I have a child with a woman, right, and I leave, right, that child grows up to have poor results. Who's more at fault? The woman that stayed to raise him, or the man that left?
The man that left completely.
Yep. So he's no longer in that child's life, right? I think you can share fault, but who's the most at fault there?
All right. So let's start from the top when we're talking about vetting process, right? So women have the choice to procreate with whoever they want, or whoever they decide to have sex with, or whatever, right? So from that point, you start there. Who did you choose to have your child by? So at that point, yes, you are more at fault. However, when you start to go down the line and that kid gets there and the man runs off, he is at fault as well. But the most at fault would be the woman, because you decided to sleep with this man. And it's not, if he runs off, then that's just a mirror, and hold it up to your face to see how you picked. And I understand men change, because when vagina is calling, they're gonna say anything that they want to get it. I understand it, but you have to be a little bit more serious when you decide to have a kid, especially out of wedlock, So I would say in that aspect, it would definitely be women, but I think it's correctable. I mean, it's an easy fix, but I mean, it's at that point, I would say, women. So.
Gotcha. 100%. Like, share, subscribe, tell a friend, hit that like button right now if you can. That helps the channel the most. I understand that logic. For me, I tend to want to implicate the father, but I understand in terms of access, choosing, vetting, right? Especially when you choose to have the kid. So I understand.
They say the same thing to men, because a man can't get on social media and complain how shitty his baby mama is. They're gonna say you should have picked better, right? Yeah. So women, I want you to use that same logic when it comes to you, right? So it's the same thing. Nobody is absolved from this responsibility here. So.
Gotcha. Understood. Like, share, subscribe, tell a friend. So, one stat that when we are having these back and forth, right? Are they conversations? TBD, right? But they're certainly entertaining. I think they're mostly arguments, people trying to get their point across. Right. Not a lot of consuming of information, generally speaking, right? Which makes it an argument in my estimation. A lot of our kids are born out of wedlock. It's said that our women lead in STDs and things of that nature. Like, so the wedlock nature, and then it's also said that they're more successful marrying outside their race. There's a stat often brought up that white men and black women are the most successful in interracial marriages. So how do we make out all those numbers? The out of wedlock children, the sex involved, us being the least married, them be the most successful with white men and interracial. What is this all? Is this all true?
No. So, and I'm explaining to, and I know this is, first of all, I don't know why this is a point of celebration that black women use to say, hey, we partner with white men the most. I don't understand that. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But no, it's not true. So basically what the majority of black women did who ran with this narrative is they watched this white woman's video on YouTube. And she, when she said that black women are most likely to stay in their marriage with white men, she followed that up and she actually said that white women were the ones that had the worst outcomes when they get with any man of any race. And it was actually in her video. And I don't know why black women didn't run with that. And they ran with saying that they were the, she said what she said about black women and white men. But truth be told, and I want black women to go look this up, every statistical point that she mentioned and every reference that she pulled, the references were from 1973 to 2007. It is 2024, right? So that's a 14-year difference. So you guys are citing outdated statistics. And also in that same statistical 2002 report that she cited, they stopped doing the research because it was so unnecessary because black women, it was nominal, right? So now the most important statistic that black women need to focus on is the one that Bowling Green State University just put out. And I'm pretty sure everybody has seen it. It just came out in 2023, where they said that black women are the least married and the most divorced. That's what you guys need to be focused on. And also, they incorporate saying that, hey, white women have the worst outcomes when they're with any man of any different race. So it's not black men and white women getting divorced or whatever. No, she misled y'all with a picture that I guess they call them divestors. She created that picture where it said black men are 400 times more likely to get divorced from white men than black women or something like that. And she put that on a Reddit thread. You have to do your research on these things to see what people are making up. And that's the same thing that happened with that billionaire thing, because they're banking on black women not reading the actual statistic so they can get those clicks, likes, and views. And I keep telling black women, stop falling for it, because there has literally been 3 white men that I had to do videos on where they spreaded false information to black women, where they shared it on their social media platforms. And it makes them look dumb. And I'm like, y'all got to stop doing this, because I know black women are educated. So why would you just go out there and believe something that somebody said instead of doing your own research? Because I tell you this, when I put out a statistic, I get research. Black women all in my comments, where you get this from? But when it's a white man, it's like, oh, yeah.
100%. Understand that. Like, share, subscribe, tell a friend, hit that like button right now if you can. That helps the channel the most. So, Medium, in terms of, our is it true, 62% of black women have children? 70% of our children are born out of wedlock. Do they actually lead in STDs? What's the actual info behind that?
So, and what's fascinating, I want, hopefully this will be an educational, portion of the conversation to black women. The reason why people study black women is because it's so fascinating, because you guys only represent about 7.5% of the population. But in all those particular groups, such as HIV, and I'm going to explain this, homosexual black men lead in the HIV numbers as of 2022, right? Second to that is black women. Third is black men, heterosexual black men. The reason why they separated it, and they started reporting the LGBTQ community, because they started to see an influx of these diseases going up. So they had to separate it. So when you focus on why black women are second and not black men, because you would assume that men in general tend to be the ones that carry the diseases the most, because most men don't get tested. That's just the truth, right? So if you have black women leading heterosexual black men, what does that tell you? It tells you 2 things, and you guys can theorize this on your own, is that they're having sex with a small amount of guys, and they're also having sex with men who swing the other way. That's the only way that you can justify why heterosexual women have a higher HIV rate than heterosexual men. And like I said, and I want to be clear, In the next year, there's going to be some studies that's going to come out about this. It's not out there yet, and I'm telling you guys because I work in the field, and you guys will see what I'm saying here because nobody has come to the conclusion as to pinpoint, oh, well, they're having sex with the same small amount of men, because truthfully, it should be men. Heterosexual men should be leading because we're the ones supposedly having all the sex. And I'm gonna give black women a cookie here right now. Black women actually have less sex than other races of women. Did y'all know that? Black women have less sex than most races of women. And I'm going to do a statistical dump explaining this, right? And that's why black women are so fascinating to study because of that 7.5%. And you see that 61% of black women have kids out of that 7.5%. And then you start to look further. 59% of black women have kids by multiple men. So that's fascinating from a small group. And then you go to STDs. So people are like, how's this happening? And you start to wonder, like, man, where does all this stuff, I guess, come together? And I don't know if you want to take a break here, but I can.
Yeah. No.
Are you keep going?
Yeah. No, break it because that's like you said. I know you framed it as cookie, but it's the truth.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
and that is something. And also, I want if you could expound, right? Mm-hmm. If it's homosexual black men first, mm-hmm. Then black men, heterosexual black men third. Mm-hmm. It's like the women are surrounded, right? And then we get this conversation of how many brothers are on the down low. Now, the women have espoused a number of 50%, which is crazy. But I think my sister said it.
50%?
Yeah, but
Jesus Christ.
But and I know that is extremely hyperbolic. But just like let's make sense out of it. Like the fact that they're not having as much sex, and then homosexual black men 1, black women 2,
yes,
heterosexual men 3. Like that we gotta understand that because
that's why it's so fascinating to put these statistics out there about black women, because they're not. I don't understand why people look at it as they're trying to target or pinpoint. Oh, they're trying to help, because you have to diagnose the problem, right? That's how you do epidemiology, right? That's one of my focuses at work. We have to look at the occurrence. We have to figure out where these health and disease statistics are coming from and why they occur. So that's why when you start pointing at 7.5% of the population, why is that small group? And I'll take it back and we can start from here. So in 1973, that was when the Roe versus Wade Act was approved, right? Women they could do pro-choice or whatever. They could decide to delete a baby if they want to. So when that started, 1973, you know what started on that same year? Mm-hmm. The fertility report. So the reason why they started the Roe versus Wade, now women can get abort or deletions, and they immediately started the fertility report. CDC fertility report started in 1973. Mm-hmm. Coincides with the Roe versus Wade. So y'all stay with it. They had to track to see how this would affect the different race, gender, demographics, or groups. So when they start tracking this information, they started to notice that black women were they birthed more children than black men fathered. But nobody discussed this. And they also found out that up until 2000, the new numbers haven't come out, but from 1973 to 2023, black women have deleted 400,000 babies every year. And so they start to wonder, like, man, why is the black population declining? Because we are not the largest minority group in the United States anymore. It's Hispanics now. And the reason for that is because of a lot of child deletions. And also, it's just being, I guess, reckless. I guess that's the best word that I can say when you tie it back into the STDs, because that's my sole focus. When I started coming up, I used to work in community health. I was in the military, and then when I first started at my job, that's what I did as well. So yeah, man, it's a fascinating group, and I think that's why people are trying to help as much as they can, instead of coming at it like we're trying to point the finger, say it's your fault. No, you just need the most help, and we're trying to figure out ways to help you. You know?
Yeah, 100%. Get the likes up, subscribe, hit the link that's pinned, subscribe to Media Man, of course. Now, Media Man, here's the thing, or I don't know if you have the hard numbers, but homosexual black men are still black men, right?
Yes.
So if you add those groups together, homosexual, heterosexual, and then the women, do the women still lead?
No. When you, because homosexual men, I mean, that's a problem group, and they know that. You know what I'm saying? Because there's so many ways that they can transmit disease. Because remember, go back to what I said earlier. Men tend to not get checked. Women are more apt to go to the hospital to see if they have STD. Because I've heard guys say, "Well, if she ain't got nothing, then I ain't got nothing," and that's the wrong route.
100%.
You should be getting tested at least twice a year. But no, homosexual men lead, and I do have the actual numbers here somewhere. I can tell you guys specifically. If you want.
Definitely get to the specific if you don't mind. So boom. Okay, man. And so how do they decide where to allocate a man? So if women are essentially having sex with men that swing both ways, he's allocated to the homosexual group, or is it what he reveals?
So and like I said, working in community health, we have interviews, right?
Okay.
And so when somebody comes in for a community health interview, we have to ask them specific questions. Hey, have you had sex with, a man, woman, whatever it is, right? And they have these particular symptoms. Maybe they have, let's say, and I know this may be crass, but chlamydia of the anus, right?
Okay.
It's only a couple of ways that most people tend to get that. Of course, people eating booty out here. I heard that's wild, but but yeah, that could be some questions that we ask to get them to tell us the truth, because we need to know how to help them, and we also try to contact the people that they've had sex with. So some guys will say, hey, I'm straight, but if you have any type of history with the men, then you have to identify as LGBTQ, and that's how we get those statistics. But I know, the one common argument that I heard women say, it's like, well, men ain't gonna tell, what they doing out there. But I'm like, man, it's certain diseases such as that. What was that? Recently we just had the monkeypox scare. I don't know if you guys seen that. Yeah, it was a lot of men that were coming up with monkeypox, and they were trying to say, I sat down on, the stairs, and man, we already know.
It's almost like they have to tell on themselves, right? Like in order to get help.
Help. I keep saying that for a reason. Like, man, everybody trying to cook y'all, like we trying to help.
Yeah, 100%. The man. So, and I know you said so. In those instances, are people generally forthcoming, or do you have to pull the information out of them, so to speak?
Sometimes you have to pry a little bit, asking certain questions, because I would say 70% of our interviews we don't get contacts, because people they'll say, I'll tell them myself, you know what I'm saying, because they don't want us to know what they've been doing. But like I said, if it's certain things and certain, let's say if it's to the point that you have some things that need to get looked at by an actual physician, and they start to see rectal tears and so on and so forth, chafing in certain areas, you can being educated in this field, you can understand when you get the feedback, like, I know what she's doing. But it is tough. And I will give women credit for that, by saying, hey, it is tough to get that information out, but we try our best to make sure that we seemingly protect women, because sometimes those guys won't be forthcoming to them. And the same right with women, but women, it's not too common that, you get a woman who's swinging both ways, spreading all the diseases. So I will give them that. So, yeah.
Wow, that we understand that they split orientation,
right?
But the truth is, black men have more STIs than black women.
It's still more black men if you include those homosexual, heterosexual. But again, you would think black women should be third, right? You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
and that's why it's so fascinating that people are rushing to try and, see what the problem is. Like, hey, we need to do a little bit more outreach because we have, the health department in your states, they have vans that will come out to like impoverished areas and give out condoms, give out free testing,
Yeah.
all this type of stuff. You guys can find this information on freestd.org. So yeah, we're out there doing as much as we can to try and help prevention, because that's the only thing that we can do outside of telling people to abstain. But we know that's not going to happen. So we got to be active. So
wow. Okay, man, that is something. And then, the one stat that you came out with 100% accuracy. In college, man, if she good, we good, right? That was how we did it, right? But that speaks to also potentially skewing the numbers, because men indeed do not go to the doctors at the same rate.
Yeah, they don't. And I told guys that on a whole live stream about STIs and STDs. And that's one thing where I will give women credit. They will get tested, because most of the time that's how they figure out a man is cheating on them or not. They get tested and they got something like, man, what the hell Tyrone gave me? And then he'll find out,
Yeah.
So but he might get a pot upside his head in the morning, but you know what I'm saying?
Wow.
You're going to find out eventually. So you want these numbers for LGBT?
Yes, sir.
That? So I'm going to give the audience a little bit of homework. If you guys ever want to know the Black statistics in regards to the LGBT population, there is a school at UCLA called the Williams Institute. The report in 2021 was placed and put out by 2 Black female doctors, right? So, if they were going to be biased against Black men, then this would have been their chance to do so. But they weren't, because they're professionals. So if you guys want to look up the statistics, it's called UCLA Williams Institute Report. And it's done 2021. And it states, Black LGBTQ population, a new study by the Williams Institute at UCLA School of Law finds that an estimated 1.2 million adults in the U.S. identify as Black and LGBT. 1.2 million. Did y'all hear that? Okay. Now, over half, 57% of Black LGBT adults are under the age of 35, with an estimated 61% of LGBT adults are women. 39% of LGBT adults are men. Okay? Women have always outnumbered men in regards to the LGBTQ population. And I want to put that into context. So in the whole United States, we have 11.3 million LGBTQ adults, right? So I know that sometimes these statistics can get skewed, because there's a lot of people that live in Atlanta and they may go think about one particular place in Atlanta where they have the most LGBTQ adults. But Atlanta is not the centerpiece or the mainstay for the LGBTQ population. That's over in California. So so it may be skewed if you base your opinion if you live in Atlanta, Philadelphia, San Francisco, of course. But no, it don't get those misconstrued, because I think it's I want to say nearly 1/5, 19.8% live in the Northeast, 18% live in the Midwest, and 10.8% live in the West. But the mainstay is San Francisco. So I just wanted to put that out there because I know the misconception Black people like to run with is that all these Black men are gay. But just because you watch a P-Valley episode, that don't mean that all Black men running around here, doing that. So and they have to, and that's another thing with TV shows. Real quick, they have to include more LGBTQ scenes, because they're kind of running things a little bit. So you're going to see more of that representation just to make up for lost time. They did the same thing with Black folks. I remember we were happy when we start seeing ourselves in commercials. So that's what's happening, right? It's not the fact that we have this influx of Black men. Black men have never been the lead in this area. It's always been white men. But we get blamed because, I guess, what's it, the shaming tactic, right? But we need our women to understand, y'all got to stop saying that, because y'all outnumber Black men. And again, those are the men that you guys are going to marry. So you got to be mindful of that.
Man, wow. Like, share, subscribe, tell a friend, and tell a friend. Hit that like button right now if you can. That helps the channel the most. Have you saw, and it's been said, and I didn't do my due diligence to look at it, but they said it was self-reported that black men are the best fathers. Did you see that or hear that? Can you clarify where that comes from?
I definitely can. It came from the NSFG data survey. All these things are surveys, right? So when the statistics came out in regards to black men being the most involved, and it's everywhere. They just updated it in 2018, right? It's actually true. Black men did get surveyed, but it wasn't just black men. It was, white men. Everybody got surveyed, right? So they started to hear the feedback from people saying, hey, this is not true. Black men can't be the most involved. So what they did in 2018, they surveyed women. And guess who came back as being the most involved fathers? Black men. And I've done a video on this. You guys can see the report. It's on this website called Legacy, and then you follow the link and you can read it yourself. So every statistic, every survey, even black women said that black men were the most involved. And the way that I caught black women in a sense is because the same study that did the surveys for black men being the most involved was the same study that actually did the report that said that black women and white men were the most married. So if you're going to believe that, you got to believe this.
Shit like that. Shit like that. Shit like that.
See, that part matters. But also you're saying it's not self-important. It was reported by the women that have kids by black men.
Black men.
Wow. So I've been seeing self-reported, but the truth is it was the women who said that about the men.
Hey, man, hold on. Let me see if I can read this to you. And I know it may be, and the funny thing is when I say this stuff, I'm thinking that people should be elated in the black community. Like, oh my goodness, black men are involved. Man, thank you. But I get the opposite. They like, hell no, that can't be true. I'm like, why aren't we celebrating? You know what I'm saying? I never understood that aspect of this space. Like, man, if I'm telling you something good about black men, why are you sitting there mad that it came to be true? Like, why is that a point of, contention?
That is, I did not know that, man.
Shit like that. Shit like
man,
that.
Oh
like
man, that is crazy. Now, medium, right? Here's another point, right? The women reported it. Salute to them, right? We're the most involved. Where do we lie? Where do our children lie in education statistics, though?
Yeah, so that education statistic is an important one that they're actually starting to research and put the most information out there now, because I know that the reports say that black boys reading at an 8th grade level or something like that. Yeah, I know you guys know what I'm talking about, right? So the common question that I get all the time is like, well, if black men are so involved, why are the kids not, doing what they're supposed to do in school? But I'm going to tell you, and you guys can look up this as well. In 2022, Institute for Family Studies, they just put out a report, Life Without Father. Less college, less work, and more prison for young men growing up without their biological father. And they actually pinpoint young men who grew up with their biological father are more than twice as likely to graduate college by their late 20s compared to those raised without their biological father. And they also go down to say that young men who did not grow up with their biological father are significantly more likely to be idle / lazy in their 20s. And young men who did not grow up with their father in the home are about twice as likely to have spent time in jail by the age of 30. So when you talk about the black community, when we have these conversations about why are the kids reading at the 8th grade level, all the statistics point that when black men do raise their children, or they in their children's lives, those children do exponentially better in school, in college, high school, whatever. So their reading is on point. What we need to be focused on are the kids, or the bulk of the kids that are being raised by single mothers outside of marriages. Because again, if only 46% of black men have ever fathered children, that's a small group compared to the men who are married and they take care of their kids, and also to that about 23.5% of men who are seemingly having all these kids out of wedlock, with the 70% of black women. And that's a sticking point because we say, why do we have all these kids? 70% of the kids are out of wedlock. People read that statistic wrong. It says black women have 70% of the kids out of wedlock. That does not just include black men. Black women have, in 2015 to 2019, black women had 1 million more children than black men. Who you think they had them kids with? So that's why you can't say black men and women have 70% children out of wedlock. No, it's black women.
Oh my God. So
go back and read it, y'all. And that's where a lot of people miss. It's not black men. No.
Wow. So essentially, there's 70% black women had kids out of wedlock. So that means men of other races are implicated in that number.
They are, and black women fail to mention that. And this is not. Remember, it's not my statistics. This is actually in text. If you go to blackdemographics.com, you go to the fertility reports, they have 4 points. And they say that it's in this group, it's 500 more black women or something like that. And then they will basically say 1 million more children than black men. So
from 2015 to 2017, was that the number?
2015 to 2019, 1 million more. Yeah. But again, you can, and like I said, they've been tracking these numbers since 1973. But you can, to get a more clear picture, you go back and type in the fertility reports from 2019 to 2015, and then they have ones for the years going back to 2006 to 2010, and you can see throughout the across the board, it's the same report. Black men are about 44%, 47%, 46% ever fathered children. So it hasn't deviated. And we get it's funny that the reason why I brought up that statistic is because the common narrative in the black community is that we have all these deadbeat dads and all these black men are having children. No, it's not true. So most of the black men are having children while they're married. And that's what's crazy about it. And nobody of prominence in the black community points this out. This is key information that we should know, but they won't do it because they think that it makes black women look bad. And that's not the point. The point is protecting the black man's ethnic image and getting our women to understand that they are doing what they're supposed to do. And y'all need to know that.
Okay, man, oh man. Perfect. Like, share, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend. Hit that like button right now if you can. That helps the channel the most. I have one more I want to ask you regarding the women. Well, I have a lot more, but we can't be here all night, right? And I want to make sure I acknowledge your time, the least desirable, right? I only prefer black women. I have affinity for black women. I don't. Yeah, the snow bunny thing. It just ain't. It's not gonna work for me. But you hear the least desirable stat. Black women, Asian men. What's the breakdown?
Jesus. Okay. So, because I know this is tough for especially our women to hear, man, because I like to say that when you see a black woman and a white man on social media, our women like to use them somewhat as mascots to let everybody know that white men do prefer black women. But in truth, that's not true, right? So we just had the Hinge report come out. Black women were mad that they're not getting the most desirable men that are coming up in their field, and they blame Hinge for it. That gives black women a clear-cut example as to how other races of men view them. And that goes back to a black woman's ethnic image. And I've done videos where I've showed you guys, even overseas, a woman in Korea tried to date a Korean man, and the first thing he asked her was, can she twerk? Where he get that from? He get that from what they see on social media, from what a large majority of black women are doing. So it's not just affecting the States, it's affecting your dating options when you go overseas as well. And that's why I'm damn near pleading with black women. If you consider yourself one of the good ones, then you need to start speaking up and letting them know, hey, even though you doing it, it affects us as well. And that needs to be a sticking point amongst black women, because when I say it, it comes off as, oh, I'm trying to poke at them. No, I'm trying to let you guys know I've been to 50 countries and I seen it. Go on TikTok. It's Japan, Italy, Where else these black women going? Wherever they go, they have videos of black women complaining about the dating market. Even to the point they were complaining about black men in Japan because they're not dating black women while they're over there. Even though Japan is like 99.9% Asian, Japanese.
Yeah.
Why would you know what I'm saying? So it's like it's crazy. So the least desirable, it's correctable because nobody is saying that black women aren't beautiful. Black women are the most beautiful women in the world, and I can say that wholeheartedly after being with 50 countries. I spent 12 of them in Africa. Black women come in all shades. We know y'all beautiful. We know that. It's not that. It's attitude. Y'all and black women know this because y'all champion it. And I'm like, man, you could change this. It's not something we can do. You guys have to do it. And we got to stop blaming everything on the past. Y'all got to start understanding that we are the new ancestors. Start to act like it and stop blaming everybody else. Well, this is how I was taught. We was taught to go to college and not worry about a man. You know that now. Fix it. Instead of sitting there blaming what you were taught. It's so many platforms where you hear women saying the same thing. What the hell y'all gonna do about it? Start taking this shit more seriously. We are going to go down in the history books. The new people are going to look at you and what you did, not the ancestors, like y'all still doing. If you got problems with your moms, you adult, go get therapy. Do what you need to do. But take that shit serious. Your ethnic image belongs to you. So don't blame black men. Start to look at your sisters and ask them. Have a powwow and ask them, what we going to do about this? That's all that needs to happen.
Man, oh man. Perfect. You know, I was looking at one of your videos and you were mentioning just protecting that image, right? And when you likened it to the fact that we didn't, that really resonated with me, right?
Yeah.
We were super predators and thugs and gangsters and gangster rappers only, you know? And we didn't speak up enough against it. So that was a stereotype about us. And it seemingly just permeated throughout the years.
Yeah, and I was telling black women in that video, don't be like us. Don't be like black men. Because there was a long run of black men being deleted by cops at an exponential rate because of the fact that everybody was trying to live this hood type mentality. I grew up in California. I remember when Ice Cube, NWA, all them dudes, even people who wasn't in gangs was wearing all black, LA Kings gear, Raiders, so on and so forth. That was the avatar for the black man because all the music portrayed that. And that got translated to all black men. And we had to bear the brunt of that stain on us for decades. We're just now getting into that. And I had to point, hey, when's the last time you saw people really talking about gangs in the public eye? Yeah. It's not there anymore because black men had to take control of their ethnic image and start speaking up a little bit more like, hey, we are not a monolith. We are not just this thug mentality that y'all see in these rap shows. And I liken it to, like I said, Kanye West with the backpack rappers and things like that. Black men can be so much more now and not get chastised for it. Because like I told them in that video, if Kanye came out in the 90s, they wouldn't have accepted him because he didn't fit the gangster rapper persona. So now we see black men leaning into being gamers, IT nerds, so on and so forth. And that feels good to me because I'm 44 years old. And I remember how we used to be portrayed. So I use that as an example of what not to be. And I talk specifically to black women. Don't be us. Take control of this while you still can. Because it's going to get to a point where you guys are going to start losing job opportunities at a higher rate. Everybody overseas is going to start reviewing you as the woman who got arrested in Dubai. And we see that all the time. The more women talk about women of other countries just because of the passport bros, if you go over there, you're going to get affected by that. And I know this because I have so many black female friends who were in the military and they moved to these different countries. And they seen that was a daily wrap-up crew. They were on the local news in Thailand while she was an expat there. And they had the black women calling them uneducated and broke and dirty. That's not what y'all want y'all, ethnic image to be in these different countries, because I want black women to be able to travel freely. And I have a vested interest in this because some of my best friends live in these particular countries. And I don't want them affected by what they think black women are by the way y'all talk about those women here or overseas.
Man,
That bothers me a lot. So
wow. So it's simply saying, hey, you still have an opportunity to not let it affect you guys like it affected us.
they do.
And it took 30 years to overcome it, seemingly, right? To an extent.
You know, I mean, man, it took a while. You know, y'all got a chance because we didn't have platforms like this. So this is the content, you know, that I think more black women start leaning into. And I'm not saying some foolery like soft life. I'm talking about tangible things that have nothing to do with men. Just y'all. And start coming up with a plan to where you can start protecting your ethnic image if you care. If you don't care, I understand you ain't want to get involved. Cool. But this is something that y'all can talk amongst yourselves with and not us. So
wow, man. Like, share, subscribe, tell a friend, hit that like button right now if you can. That helps the channel the most. Media man, this has been a blessing. I went through some numbers, right? Because I was looking at black men measuring up to men of other races.
right.
What I found, and you please correct it, you know, because I did some quick Google searches. I tried to do my due diligence. Google now has this AI factor where it pulls the most credible sources, seemingly, when you look down, you know, Pew and all the ones, CDC, the ones that we recognize.
Yep.
You know, we were the most unemployed, from what I saw. We are the least married in terms of just black people, but you know, I since men control access to relationships is the talking point, then I would put that on us, right? Just based on that talking point. We are the lead in being homeless. Our wages as compared to everyone except for the Latino man, we're lower than, you know, so on and so forth. So I was looking, and then I think the biggest is violent crime.
Yeah.
To me, the biggest is violent crime. You know, so the FBI report of 2019 is the most organized, right? It's seemingly easiest to kind of look through, but it is now 2024. Where do we sit with prison, which I saw we were 31% of the population, white men were 32%, but they're 60% of the entire population. And then we commit the most violent crime per the FBI stat of 2019 at upwards of 52%, I believe it was. And then 32% for like actual like murder, something of the sort. I may have it backwards. But you know,
no, everything you said is absolutely true. You know, and I, you know, of course, I look at the same statistics as well. But when we have these conversations, we have to be very clear with the black community, because you just said 52%. What the black community will hear is 52% of black men.
Yeah,
and that's why these conversations are so important, to where you can explain to them. I believe it was the violent crime from 2019. And Statista, they also have some updated numbers as well. But if there's, let's say that there was 10,000 black men that deleted people, homicide, right? So 10,000 black men out of, let's use the working class, 16.5 million. That's a nominal number. And we need, specifically women need to hear this, because the narrative is that all these black men are committing all these crimes or deleting one another. No. And if you actually look at the maps of where these crimes are being committed, it's in a couple central locations. I believe I've seen like St. Louis, maybe New Orleans, Detroit, Chicago, so on, you know, certain places that you can kind of pinpoint. So I just want the black community to understand that, yes, black men definitely need to get better at that. We need to do something. I don't know if y'all remember, a little while back, martial law was actually being discussed in regards to Chicago because of all of the July 4th.
Yeah, I remember that.
July, you know, shootings or whatever. So if that happens, then, you know, people gonna really have something to complain about. So I try and tell black men, if you are vested in helping young black men, and I know it's you taking a risk, but we do have some black men out there that have boots on ground that are trying to educate these young men. If that's your job, then you got to take that serious, man. Because if they implement any sort of martial law, because y'all know the election coming up, the one who was talking about it was President Donald Trump. So y'all better think about this before the government gets involved, and then it's going to be really something to complain about. So yes, black men do need to get better, but just understand, black community, that it's not all black men, or even a majority at the slightest bit. It's not the majority of black men. The most majority of black men are hardworking brothers They just out here trying to live. You know what I'm saying? And that's all it is. So
100%. And I think as I'm thinking through it, I think I said it wrong, which I apologize. I think
no,
30.
you said it, but I just want to,
Yeah, no. I'm just in terms of the stat. I just want to make sure I correct it because I didn't want to, us to have. I think it's 50% of crime and then 32% of violent crime.
Okay.
I think that is the organization of it. But we'll get some correction in the chat. Matter of fact, I try not to look at the chat when I'm on here just so I can focus on the actual interview itself.
So you want me to go a little further on the prison initiative stuff?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, and this is and I always speak to the Black community because that's where I tend to get the most pushback for some odd reason, right?
Sure.
So when I say these things, I want you guys to don't believe me. I want you to do your research for yourselves, especially if you have a platform. If you're a content creator, Black, I want y'all to listen to this. So the prison policy initiatives, that is what the website is called. This is the place where you can get all the information about prison and who's in prison, where they're in prison, so on and so forth. Prison Policy Initiative, the new report just came out in 2024. And I'm going to read something to you guys. The Prison Population Initiative collects and presents data to illustrate the size and reach of our criminal justice system. In 2022, the United States prison population sits at 1.9 million. That is not 50% of Black men if that was Black men, right? Okay. 1.9 million.
Altogether.
Everybody. And I know people are going to say, well, you're only looking at prison. No. The United States prison population sits at 1.9 million. And that number represents the 1,566 state prisons, 98 federal prisons, 3,116 local jails, 1,300 juvenile correctional facilities, 142 immigration detention facilities, and 80 Indian country jails, as well as military prisons, commitment centers, state psychiatric hospitals, and prisons in the U.S. territories. So
that's everybody, literally.
1.9 million, and including Puerto Rico in this. I want to make sure y'all understand this. Okay. So
Virgin
let's break
Islands.
down the numbers. This is where you interpret. And this is something that you guys can kind of, people in the chat, you can understand. Black people, not just Black men, Black people, which includes Black women and juveniles, represent 38% of those who are incarcerated. 38% of 1.9 million is 722,000 Black people. Let me put this into perspective for us.
Okay.
See, the Pew Research just put out a great information source, said Black Facts. We just increased our population to 47.5 million. So if I'm telling you that 722,000 Black people are incarcerated, what does that tell you? That means that there is a small percentage, I would say about 600,000, 620,000 Black men who are currently incarcerated. Does that sound like the majority of Black men? No.
No.
Okay. So let's say that out of all the 722,000 represented Black men over the age of 18, which was 16.5 million, that will mean that 4.3% of Black men over the age of 18 are currently incarcerated, with 95.7% of Black men free. If I had to take an educated guess, it would be about 3% of our incarcerated population. So I just wanted to be clear for anybody who had any issues with those prison statistics and you like to use these talking points to kind of shame Black men. Just understand that 95.7% of your Black men are free and walking amongst you. And also, let's not forget, and I'm going to give credit, I believe, to the millennials. Who was born, what is it?
It's 1981 to 95 or 6, the millennials.
Yeah, 1981. I want to give them some credit because I know they like, people like to say they soft and they not doing what they're supposed to do out here and they lazy. But I think us old heads need to understand this as well. Hold on, this is very important. Wait, let me find it. Prison.
Yeah, so Gen Y, I think, or excuse me, Gen Y would be the millennials. Gen Z I think gets more of they're soft. Those are like the 96 to 2000 and
Oh, okay. I'm sorry to get. I heard that so many times in these spaces. They ain't doing what they supposed to do. But there's a great it just actually came out. Hold on, I'll read it from here because I really want black women to hear this so they can see how much black men are doing and improving. There it is. And I want everybody to get a chance to go review this for yourself. So the Sentencing Project just put out a report in October 2023. It's called the 1 in 5 Ending Racial Inequity in Incarceration. So, and this is very important. I want black men to pat themselves on the back. Hold on, let me read this to you guys.
Okay.
I want to get the best information possible so you can see how well the black community is doing, and this translates to black women as well. So hopefully they're listening too. Oh, let me see here. Give me 1 second. It's okay. Here we go. Okay. Reforms to drug law enforcement and to sentencing for drug and property offenses, particularly those impacting urban areas which are disproportionately home to communities of color, have fueled declaration and narrowed racial disparities. These trends have led to scholars to declare a generational shift in the lifetime likelihood of imprisonment for black men. The risk has fallen from a staggering 1 in 3 for those born in 1981 to a still troubling 1 in 5 for men born in 2001. Black women, and you guys need to pat yourselves on the back as well, have experienced the sharpest decline in their imprisonment rate, falling by 70% from 2000 to 2021. So don't tell me that black people don't know how to act. Don't tell me that black people don't know how to get their shit together. It says it right here. Yeah. So y'all got to stop with this narrative talking about the black community is trash. We don't know what we're doing. If you're one of these people that run with this narrative, you probably one of the people that I blocked on my page because I don't play that foolery. Y'all need to start doing the research. So go check it out. Sentencing Project. Give black men a pat on the back. 1 in 5. Give black women a pat on the back. Sharpest decline, 70%. Thank you, black community. Thank you, black men and black women.
Man, oh man. Like, share, subscribe, tell a friend and tell a friend. Hit that like button right now if you can. That helps the channel. Tell a friend and tell a friend. And we out.